Hello reader friends, hello book besties, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Erica, aka Paperback Girly. Welcome to another monthly reading wrap up. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys the 11 books that I read in the month of May, and I had a phenomenal reading month. I have just recently posted my May monthly reading vlog, and I feel like with the monthly reading vlogs, I take you through not only my month, but my reads, like reading vlog style. But I feel like this and the monthly reading wrap-ups, we have a chance to really just sit down and talk and chat to each other, let you know my thoughts and opinions, and give you guys my ratings as well. For convenience, I have all of my books set up on my book cart, and I'm going to go through them as I read them this month from beginning to end. Some of these books I did go into a lot more detail in my monthly reading vlog than the chance to do with others. I probably won't dive too deep into certain books, but I will go deeper into other books. Before we get started, I would love to know how your personal reading month was. Leave a comment. Let me know down below how many books you personally have read this month. I have been consistently reading 11 books a month, which is actually kind of cool. Let's go ahead and get right into our May reading wrap up. So at the beginning of May, I was ending out my 24-hour reading vlog that you guys seem to love, so I did do another one last month. It'll be coming out this month. I was rounding out the end of my 24-hour reading vlog, and I picked up Hot House Flower, which was a book that I was very excited to read. I have been reading an Addicted Calloway Sisters series book every month since I've started reading the series, and so I've been enjoying keeping up that pace. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it and I really liked it, but I didn't love it, period. I didn't love it as much as I loved Kiss the Sky. For some reason, Kiss the Sky just did it for me. I connected with Rose and Connor so much. I feel like I ate that book up. I ate it up, and I really just feel like these books are super easy and compelling to read. Like I have no choice but to want to blast through them, and I get through them so fast. But I will say that with this particular book, the relationship was just like a little bit taboo, but then also kind of not, because like we've been desensitized, I guess, to the idea of Frank and Daisy for the longest time. And I feel like now that we kind of get to know both Reich and Daisy on a more personal level, I enjoyed and appreciated that I was able to get their sides of the story. But it just, for me personally, I think that I'm a Rose and Connor stan. I don't know what it is about Kiss the Sky, but that was like my end game. There's so many more books in this series, so I can't say that I won't have another favorite book, but this was a solid 4 out of 5 stars for me. Elsie Silver's Heartless was the next book that I picked up, and I honestly thought this was going to be a 5-star for me. I ate this book up. I was very pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this book. I'm not one for the single parent trope, and I haven't had a book until this one do the single parent trope in a way that I could resonate with or that I like. And I felt like for some reason Elsie Silver did it right for me. I just feel like the relationship between Willa and Cade's son was organic. Like it didn't happen in a kind of weird way that sometimes it could come across. Anyways, I won't go too deep into that. Basically, this is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series. This follows Willa and Cade. Cade is Rhett's brother from Flawless, and then Willa is Summer's best friend. Cade has been through a ton of babysitters. Like no babysitter that he has found has like met his specifications. So Summer sets up a situation where Summer offers Cade the option to have Willa, her best friend, watch his son for the summer. So Willa does come out to Chestnut Springs and watches Cade's son for the time being. Cade is kind of a broody, grumpy sort of person, and Willa is definitely like a sunshiny, high energy person. So these two contrasting people sort of are like butting heads at first, but the banter is great in this book, and I feel like I genuinely connected to the two characters and their relationship. However, the third act conflict that happens between the two characters kind of threw me off, and it just happens a little bit abruptly, a little bit weird. I understand where it comes from, and I'm not gonna say anything like too much about it because it is kind of a spoiler, but it just happened a little bit awkwardly, and I feel like it just kind of ruined it for me. It didn't ruin it in a bad way, but it ruined the opportunity of the 5-star for me. And so I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It's a solid 4 out of 5 stars as well. And I just genuinely enjoy Elsie Silver's writing. I've heard nothing but amazing things about Powerless, so I'm very excited to get to that next month. After Heartless, I read The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is the first book that I've read by this author before, ever. And I genuinely enjoyed this book. This follows Calla and her journey to Alaska to meet her dad. I found myself really interested in the story of Calla and her dad, as well as the relationship between Calla and Jonah, because in a lot of ways the relationship between Calla and Jonah reflect exactly what happened between her mom and her dad. So it's super cool to see those parallels. Another thing that I really liked about this book is that it kind of brings to the front this whole idea of sky cowboys. Calla's dad owns this airplane charter company called Alaska Wild, and they fly these little planes all throughout Alaska. They do deliveries, they work with UPS to like deliver things, and they also help their community by being able to deliver goods and packages and whatnot to indigenous and like rural Alaskan communities. I love getting to know or getting that representation, getting a glimpse of the Alaska Native. I think that was such a unique part of this book. Like I'm not very educated. Being able to sort of subtly get that in this book, and then also like as Calla is learning more about Alaska and all the different people, I felt like I was in Calla's shoes for a second. And I feel like there's this big trend or this big emphasis right now on small towns, like how I read the Chestnut Spring series, and also how I absolutely have been loving the Eden series, which I need to get back to. This is such a different take on that, where first of all, we're in Alaska, just like a different type of environment, you know what I mean? Like whenever you think of Alaska, you're thinking like the tundra, the frozen tundra, and then they're also cowboys, but they're in the sky and they're flying planes and like landing them on dangerous rocks and mountains and cliffs and doing all these different jobs and whatnot. So I think it was such an interesting and unique take on that small town country vibe, I guess. And overall, I thought it was a phenomenal book. I think that this is a book that definitely has like stuck with me. The writing has stuck with me. Slow, gradual build of it all has stuck with me. I'm super happy and thankful that Miss Jennifer recommended this to me. After I read The Simple Wild, I picked up The Retribution of Mara Dyer. This is the third in the series, or third and final in the trilogy actually, of the Mara Dyer trilogy, and all of our questions are answered. Everything comes together. We finally understand why we went on the wild roller coaster that we went on the entire trilogy, right? The last 2 books I have given 5 out of 5 stars. No question, that was that. This was unfortunately, and I don't want to say unfortunately because it was still a phenomenal book, but for me, this book was a 4.5 stars. I feel like things felt a little bit rushed. Sometimes whenever there were like, there were like a lot of quests that they had to go through. It's fine. I love that. I love the adventure. I love having to overcome obstacles and like, you know, find different things, solve puzzles, all that type of jazz. But it just felt as though whenever they came across the conflict, it was almost as if they instantly got through it. There wasn't really any resistance besides the fact that they had to do so many different things before we finally got answers. I can't talk too much about it because it is the third in the series. The one thing that I absolutely ate the frick up, I started reading this book series whenever I was maybe like in 8th grade, and so 13-14-year-old me was absolutely in love with Noah Shaw. I mean, even still to this day, Noah Shaw is pretty smooth for a 17-year-old. We finally get Noah and Mara together in this book. It hit home for 13-14-year-old me, okay? Because you literally, these books are kind of long, but the chapters are short, things go by fast. But it's like the build all the way up to the end was just chef's kiss. And I wish that I had more people to rave about this book with, because it is like an older book. It was released in like 2011. The last one was released in 2014. It's been a minute since these books have been sort of like mainstream, but whenever Whenever it was back in the day, these were popular. I'm very excited to get to the spin-off series, but unfortunately it is an incomplete spin-off series, so I would be reading that knowing that we're probably not going to have a third book in the Noah Shaw Chronicles or Confessions of Noah Shaw, whatever it is. But I'm here for it. Then I listened to the audiobook for Aqua War, this big old brick old thing. Okay, I cannot believe that books like this exist, and I actually found out that the final book in the series, or like the most recent release in the series, actually has more pages than this one. But I read Aqua War, listened to Aqua War via audiobook, and I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars. There is so much that happens in this book. I won't talk too much about it, but the spice through the roof. The action out of this world, and the setup for the final 2 books has me on the edge of my seat, let me tell you. I feel like just like the ACOTAR series in general is sort of like a rite of passage for the book community, book talk, booktube community. So I mean, if you are still waiting, if you still don't know if this series is for you, I say just try it. I mean, I'm making my way through it. I'm not a fantasy reader, but I understand the hype around it. I sadly don't have the physical copy yet, but I read on my Kindle Say You Swear by Megan Brandy and ate that stuff up, okay? Let me tell you, I absolutely raved about this so much in my monthly reading vlog. The TLDR is that it takes place in my hometown, which made me go crazy because I have never ever seen a book that takes place in my particular hometown. This is just like a book that you have to read. It's gonna be a wild ride. When I tell you it was the most pleasant but jarring experience to read that book, the most pleasant but jarring experience. Basically, this girl, this friend group, goes to Oceanside for the summer to their beach house for the last week of the summer before they go off to college. And she is like super head over heels with one of their best friends, but like he doesn't really ever give her the time of day. He doesn't, oh, also, it's like a best friend's brother type of thing. So her brother is best friend with her crush. Because of that, Aaron doesn't want to jeopardize his relationship with her brother, and so he just can't cross that line, right? They end up sort of like subtly crossing the line. Okay, there's obviously that attraction there, and it is so good the way this author writes, like the build, the angst. Oh my goodness gracious me, I'm like thinking about it and just like imagining me holding my breath because I was literally reading this book holding my breath sometimes at just how good it was. So while she's sort of having these like rendezvous with the best friend, with the brother's best friend, there's also another guy that's sort of like giving her a little bit of interest. His name is Noah, and he's well known as like a really good football player in their college that they're about to go to, and he calls her Juliet and she calls him Romeo. So they are both Romeo and Juliet, which foreshadow, okay, foreshadow on the tragedy, okay. We'll just say that this book will surprise you. I was not anticipating the direction this book took, and I was also not anticipating the level of trauma that we would all endure as we read the book. Granted, it has a somewhat happy ending, I will say. You gotta get to that. You gotta get to that point, and you gotta live through and read through the pain. But, I mean, pain is adversity, adversity is growth. If I did not say it, I rated Say You Swear 4 out of 5 stars. It was so close to being a 5-star, but I just felt the ending needed a little bit more. I also absolutely despised Aaron. Legends and Lattes is the next book that I read, and I rated this a solid 3.5 stars. This is a cozy fantasy that is sort of based off of Dungeons and Dragons, I believe, which I've never played, never dabbled in, have no idea besides the general idea of what Dungeons & Dragons is about it. But I picked this up because I heard some people talking about it. It was a new release. I was doing some book shopping at the time. Picked it up. Viv is like a mercenary almost. She does a lot of fighting and she just doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. On one of her quests somewhere, she encountered coffee and decided that she wanted to go back to her little town called Thune and bring coffee to Thune. It's a very slow paced story. It tells you right away it's a high fantasy with very low stakes. And so right away you're told that not really much is going to happen, but there's going to be a lot going on, which is exactly what we got. We follow Viv as she tries to learn what it means to be a business owner. She goes to like the local pub or the local shops and asks them, the owners, questions about how they got word of mouth around. She puts out a business hiring flyer. I genuinely like the atmospheric vibes that this book brought, and I feel like it could be a good read for a lot of people. I personally don't think I would recommend this like, oh my gosh, hey, you should read this. Oh my gosh, hey, you should read this, unless it was something I knew that that particular person would like it. But I wouldn't want to steer anybody away from reading it because I feel like I genuinely enjoyed my reading experience. It just took a second for me to enjoy it, like to actually really enjoy that reading experience. I think that once the shop opened and once they got things going and they started getting their customers and they started to grow as a business, I genuinely actually cared about what happened and how things turned out for them. But in the beginning, it kind of took me a second to really fall in love or fall in like, or just, you know, kind of develop an attachment to the characters, period, because I was just really starting to learn about them. In reality, it brought so much more than just a business for herself. It brought a sense of community. It brought a sense of like family in the people that worked at the actual cafe. My absolute favorite character, his name is Thimble, and I didn't even know that they put it in the back, that they put him on the back until I was looking at the cover. So I really did like this book. There was some really great points about it. Like I said, a solid 3.5 stars, but it did take me a minute. Then I picked up The Love Wager, which I rated a 3.5 stars, I believe. And no, I rated this a 3 out of 5 stars. So this is a new release by Lynn Painter. I have not read a Lynn Painter before. This follows Jack and Hallie and their little wager. You know, I have some thoughts about that, but Jack basically challenges Hallie to whoever finds love on the little dating app that they're on first will win whatever the other offers. So I guess something that I didn't really connect with this book, the dating app trope. I personally just don't resonate with the dating app trope. Secondly, it felt like the whole time like they were just like the right match for each other. Like they had this very platonic best friend relationship. It just felt as though they were looking for every excuse not to see each other romantically, even though they knew that they saw each other romantically. I don't know. For some reason, that just kind of frustrated me a little bit, and I felt like the whole story was redundant because it was pretty obvious that they were the perfect match for each other. And so that kind of threw me for a loop, but I could see this as a cheesy like movie rom-com or like a TV show that, you know, is quirky and funny and outlandish. So I mean, I get it, but I didn't really like it. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't my favorite. Then I picked up Because of Low. This is by Abby Glines, and this is the second book in the Seabreeze series. Seabreeze is this 10-11 book series that follows a group of mostly adults, young adults, and just like their ups and downs in their relationships and their friendships and their friend group and their home lives and so on and so forth in this small town of Seabreeze, Alabama, which is like a beachside town. And I read these books, some of these books, majority of these books, whenever I was maybe like 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, growing up, right? And so whenever I really got back into reading again this year, end of last year, I decided that I wanted to reread all of the books I read growing up and like really absolutely loved. And so this was actually a solid 4 out of 5 stars. This follows Marcus Hardy, and he, in book 1, kind of gets his heart broken by Sadie, who falls in love with a rock star, right? Kind of a weird twist. But in this book, he unfortunately has to deal with some family issues. His dad is cheating on his mom, and so he has to kind of come home from college and sort of patch things up with his mom and his sister, make sure they were all right. But he also ends up meeting Willow, who is his roommate's best girlfriend. It's hard to explain the relationship that Willow has with Cage, but Cage is like this huge player. He goes through girls like that, but Willow is his end all be all. He thinks he's gonna marry Willow. Like, Willow is his girl next door, like will always be in love with her type thing and will always be there for her. And so Willow has a troubling home life, and Willow often finds refuge at Cage's apartment. But Cage is also Marcus's roommate now. When Willow and Marcus meet for the first time, and Marcus has no idea who Willow is despite knowing who Cage is, it's just a very interesting meet cute or meet awkward. I don't know. Marcus ends up falling for Willow, and in turn Willow ends up falling for Marcus. I thought this was a good solid read, and it makes me even more excited to continue on in the series because the first book read a little bit young for me, but this one, these characters are like in their mid-20s and their early and mid-20s, so I was able to resonate a lot more with the characters. They felt a lot older. I love the little cute beachside town that they live in, and I think it's going to be perfect for summer. I'm very excited to continue to read on this in this series this summer. I then read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I think everyone needs to go add this book to their cart right now, especially for summer 2023. Go get you a copy of this book. I think that everyone needs to read it, period. I was not the biggest Emily Henry stan, and I'm not even gonna say that I am all of a sudden now, but this book gave me so much more than I was anticipating. I didn't know how I was gonna feel about the book. I've heard some somewhat mixed reviews, like some of my favorite booktubers that I really care about their opinions. They, you know, weren't really blown out of the water by this one. And to be honest, there were a lot of parts in this book where I wasn't blown out of the water, but I genuinely felt emotionally moved by the relationship that happens in this book. And I feel like it also talks about a lot of complex emotional things that I feel like maybe sometimes don't get addressed a lot in books, or if they do, they're sort of superficially glanced over or sort of alluded to. And I think now I understand why Emily Henry is such a captivating author, or has captivated so many different readers' hearts and minds and eyes, is because of the way that she writes. And I genuinely got my own taste of that in this book. And I think that despite that, this gives the best summer vibes. Like, it's an emotional read, but it has the best cozy summer vibes. Like, I can't even begin to talk about it. This follows Harriet and Wynne, and they are recently sort of like divorced from their engagement. They haven't told, though, their tight-knit friend group that has invited them out to their little beach cottage for a week out of the summer. And so they show up to the beach vacation at the cottage. The entire friend group thinks that Harriet and Wynne are together. However, Harriet and Wynne haven't seen each other in months. So they sort of kind of like at first start to put on a facade, like, oh, hey babe, how are you? And just act normal. And whenever they get back to their room, you know, they're like, what do we do? Like, are we really gonna do this right now? But from the jump, the chemistry between Harriet and Wynn was off the charts. Like, I was like, ooh, it's getting hot in here and I don't even know what's going on in between the two people. Like, I thought that the way that Emily Henry wrote about the chemistry between them was palpable. Like, I actually could feel the chemistry between these characters and it was like jumping at me off the page. But we slowly got information, like we slowly understood why they sort of had their little, I guess, falling out. And as you found more and more information about it, it kind of frustrated me because, I mean, it was like these two characters have this uncharted chemistry towards each other. They're so attracted to each other. They actually do care about each other. You can tell that they actually, you know, genuinely care about each other, but they're not, something's not working. And like, I was genuinely asking myself why. And whenever we find out the meat and potatoes, it didn't sit right with me. It was kind of just like, really guys, really? That's how we're gonna do it? Okay. But I thought the ending was cute. The story was cute. I liked genuinely like the sort of throwback moments that we got because it really helped me care more about Harriet and Wynn as a couple together. There were just, you know, so many great points in this book, and so it was a solid 4.5 stars. I was really so close to giving this a 5-star. I think it talks about so many different things, as I said earlier, like friendship and influence of friendship or friend groups, and also influence of your family and your home life, and like the differences in having friend groups that have differing home lives than you, and how that affects like communication and interpretation and so on and so forth. Like, there's so many different topics that are covered in this book, and I really genuinely resonated with it a lot. So it was almost a 5-star read for me, but just not quite there because there were those moments in the beginning where I was kind of like struggling to push through a bit. Still, I'm excited to continue on reading Emily Henry books, and I would not be opposed to giving this another reread because maybe I missed things in the beginning. I don't know, but phenomenal book. And I think everyone should read this month, if not this year. The best book that I read this month, and this book, I am just so utterly obsessed with it, and I might go on a little bit of a rant. I did not have a chance to talk much about it in my monthly reading vlog. I read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez because I really would like to get to Yours Truly, but I'm so thankful that I took the time to read this book. This book is magical. This book is phenomenal. This book is alluring. I want to find the absolute best words to describe this book. This follows Alexis and Daniel, and one day Alexis gets stuck in a ditch and Daniel ends up helping her out of the ditch. She goes to a nearby bar and Daniel gets like bet, or like there's like a bet that whoever can take her home will win $100. Daniel tells her about the bet and they end up splitting the money. Like, he's like, oh, like if you walk out with me, I'll split the money with you. So they have this cute little meet cute, right? Very bantery, very witty. They have an amazing night together. The chemistry is off the charts. And then we find out that they come from two completely different walks of life. Alexis is a part of almost like a legacy of doctors who have coined medical advancements and surgery techniques and just like part of a very big family name. And Daniel comes from a very small town, but he's also like the mayor. He has like a lot of big responsibilities. He also comes from a big line of mayors or grands in his town. So what I absolutely love about this book is that the little small town that Daniel lives in literally comes to life. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this book justice. So not only is the chemistry and the connection between Alex and Daniel off the charts, beyond me, right? It's like Abby Jimenez made it a point to make sure that the scenery came alive, that the insects had a voice, not like physically had a voice, but it definitely has a very strong Disney influence. Like, she loses her shoe morning after, like Cinderella. Oh my god, they talk about The Princess Bride, which is my absolute favorite movie of all time. Like literally my top movie of all time is The Princess Bride. The last line of this book is "As you wish." If you haven't read this book, this is your sign. This is your sign. If you love Disney movies, if you love fairy tales, if you love just like super cute, enigmatic romances, this is the book for you. It's like Disney meets Grey's Anatomy meets soap opera. Was that a good categorization? Because she's a doctor, right? And so she has all these like little moments where like we're in the hospital, or she's helping deliver somebody's baby, or you know, like we get different moments of her medical excellence. Also, it tackles very heavily expectations of parents and of legacies and of like family names, and it just it's such a complex book, and I wish I could be sound of mind to properly convey what exactly goes on in the book, but I also don't want to spoil it. I don't know, I went into it so blindly and absolutely fell in love with it. It talks about friendships. It's just so good. So yes, the hype is real on this one. This was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I haven't had a 5-star in a whole month, so pretty unprecedented for the month, if I might say so myself. Here are the 11 books that I read in the month of May. The next couple videos that you guys should be expecting from me are my summer TBR and recommendations video, as well as my 24-hour readathon video, because how else am I gonna get through my TBRs each month? I'll see you guys then. Peace.